you've ever wanted to build a software or a successful software of its own in 2026, well, this video might be a calling for you because I've rebuilt a software that's doing six close to seven figures in revenue. Let's get into it. All right, here we are. And as you can see, this is the software I've rebuilt. There's no hiding behind it. But there is a story that I want to actually talk about and sort of the competitive market that the software I rebuilt is in. Okay. So Instagram automation tools, IGDM tools, comment automations, DM automations, story sequence automations have been a popular thing for a minute now, right? And I want to show you three competitors that I copied exactly into my software. And so the first one is IGDM, the second one is InstaDM, and the third one is ColdDMs Pro, right? In my personal opinion, I think ColdDMs Pro has like the hardest looking landing page, and in general, the software just looks way more appealing than these two. These two are sort of like a bit more, funky, a bit less well built in my personal opinion. But again, these are my personal opinions, right? I've only actually personally used ColdDMs Pro before. Either way, the idea behind these softwares is very simple. It's actually scaling your outbound campaigns. So your outbound DMs to other accounts, to your current followers, so like inbound, just in general scaling the DM campaigns, right? So you can essentially connect multiple accounts by multiple aged accounts for an Instagram, for like a Twitter, right? So if we look at ColdDMs Pro right here, it says automate your Instagram and X DMs, right? So the idea behind that is you can buy multiple aged accounts, right? Good accounts, and connect those on like a VPS server, and then you're gonna have basically 10, 15, 10, 25 accounts that are all running a DM campaign to random lists, right? You can scrape leads off of Instagram, you can scrape accounts, usernames, that sort of thing, pop them in there, and essentially it just does its thing and just starts sending out DMs, right? So that's what these tools are, and this is what my tool is also based on. It's called Outreach Pro, right? This probably took under a day to build. As you can see with all the animations and the cool background and little squares going around and stuff. Few little cards here showing like the workflow, core outreach solutions. So that just shows that, you can connect Instagram. This is actually not Instagram specific, like my tool specifically, Outreach Pro. This is not Instagram specific. This is actually everything specific. So it connects your Instagram, your Gmail, your LinkedIn, Apollo, Slack, Close, School, WAP, and then what was this logo? Oh, Zapier. Right, so you could basically connect multiple tools into here, and then that sort of just goes through. So Outreach Pro is honestly like a middleman service in a way, right? So we have these beautiful graphs, all these explainers, these little hover effects, integrate with your existing tools in seconds. So sort of just shows the tools you can integrate Outreach Pro into. We have a little testimonial section, boom, 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 right? Cool stuff. And then it has like join waitlist, 17 days, 23 hours, little timer right there. And then you can, enter your email obviously. And then that's the footer. So essentially what this app would be great for is, say you're an agency owner, you're an online business owner, right? You're a lead gen agency, you're lead gen, not agency, right? You just do lead gen in general. Something like this would be of immense value, right? Because you could, again, simply just scale your outbound campaigns. Because I personally like to believe a great mix of both outbound and like paid ads is like the ultimate mix you can go for, right? You can't necessarily rely on one or the other, because if one fails, the other one's there to sort of back it up. Inside the actual software, we obviously have a dashboard, right? So it's showing DM sent, it's showing your daily rank, it's showing your daily goal, reply rates, engagement scores, campaign activity, account statuses, recent DMs sent. We've got some there, and then you're averaging 35 DMs per day. It has a bit of data around all these different things right here. And then we have our campaign section, which again shows us our specific campaigns that we're actually running, right? A few of the metrics for the campaigns. Messages is specifically for messages, so it's showing recent messages down here. You can obviously search different things and platforms and different things again. Active accounts, failed, sent successfully, total messages. Then we got our accounts section, which shows our specific accounts that we're actually using for these outreach campaigns. Then we have our browser profiles, so that's almost like just like a VPS overview, like essentially the whole system, like where these things are at, because obviously it's all done online, so it's you got to track that stuff. And then here essentially we just have a status monitor, so it's just monitoring. It has low live thing, operational. This is more of that like analytical side of things. And then in settings we have our current plan, messages, API calls, storage used, and that sort of thing. So the craziest part about this, we went over the features and stuff like that, and obviously this is all cool stuff or whatever. But what I really want to note is the fact that software like this, tools and apps like this, they're not hard to build, okay? Building is no longer a constraint for most, right? For me specifically, I can say for my situation, it's definitely not a constraint, right? We have a whole developer team on the back end. They're building out different things here and there. So it's a whole system, right? It's a whole structure, it's a format behind everything. But the one thing, obviously, whenever you're selling anything online, like for you might have a huge audience, right? You might be selling coaching, community, courses, that sort of thing. You might have a sales team, sort of thing like that, right? So you have an audience, you have a presence. I clearly don't, right? That's why I'm making these videos strictly for fun for myself, right? Though they still get 1 to 2 views, occasionally 150, 200 views, right? And the point I'm trying to make is I don't have that marketing angle. I don't have that audience, that following, right? Where I can just build an app and deploy it into there. You do. And that's the shift that's exactly happening in the market right now in 2026 in general. Is every coach, online guru, founder, brand owner, whoever it may be, everyone's getting into software, apps, and tools, right? They're either building for themselves or they're having tools and apps for themselves for their internal teams. Essentially, internal teams just means you want a software built out to manage your team. So like sales team, marketing team, that sort of thing. So everything migrates, right? For some people, it might be like data tracking, paid ads tracking, view tracking, content tracking, that sort of thing. For others, it may be something a little bit more specific, such as revenue tracking, where different streams of revenue are coming from. And then that's the internal side of things. And for others, it's a standalone product, right? So a software app or tool can obviously be a standalone product, right? It's something that people just sell, right? Monthly basis, yearly basis, weekly basis, right? And that's how they're achieving impact, insane amount of impact actually, because at the end of the day, software apps and tools, they do one thing. They give you an outcome and a result instantly. That's the idea behind software. The idea behind coaching and courses and that community stuff is, hey, I have some golden nugget info that, you can basically watch hours of my, content, and you'll potentially will figure out the golden nugget. If you don't, well, you just spent, $5,000-$10,000 for my course. And that's the thing I'm seeing with a lot of, coaches, consultants, that sort of thing is, they're just losing reputation day by day, right? And the reason that's happening is because there's nothing really valuable being sold. Information is not hard to find. The hard thing is to stay accountable, disciplined, consistent, and scaling, obviously, your efforts, your actions, and essentially implementing the information, right? The information is not hard to get. The information anyone can get, right? But implementing it in a correct format, way, system, workflow is really the important part. So with that being said, appreciate you watching this video. Leave a like, subscribe down below, comment down below what you think about this, and I'll see you in the next case study video.